market. So Sam Darnold, it would seem to me, would have a pretty viable market. Now, I said this the other day. Josh Allen was MVP. I watched him go 9 for 30 against Houston. I watched him be pretty awful against the Colts. Great quarterbacks have awful games if the production is down, you're on the road. I mean, Darnold at Detroit, it felt like the biggest game in Detroit in a decade. But were those last two games, the one against the Rams where he was running for his life and the game against Detroit where he just didn't play well, are those going to eliminate the first 14 games? Because it doesn't feel like there's a huge Darnold market.
I know. It's peculiar. And I've had conversations with people that are desperate for quarterbacks right now. And there's something about the way he lost those two games that is really leaving a bad taste in the mouths of these decision makers. And I do think it's layered. Okay. I think part of it is there's an attitude of, see, we told you, Darnold isn't that good. That was just lightning in a bottle. Things just lined up right. They were winning in certain games because of certain situations. This isn't the real Sam Darnold. We're just getting the best version of him in this moment. This isn't the true man. Okay, so you have that. Then you have another layer to this where people believe that Kevin O'Connell is the best coach for Sam Darnold. So if you're a coach who, let's say, is on a short leash and you're selling to your owner and your GM, like, let's go get Sam, I can do it. There may be some hesitance there. Can you get the same Sam Darnold that Kevin O'Connell was able to get? This idea that no one truly knows who Sam Darnold is, I feel like has been following him his entire career. Going back to when he was throwing at SC, and I had people on the ground telling me, wait, Sam Darnold is going to be the next big thing. And those same people that I would stay in touch with over the years when Sam was struggling would be so frustrated because they would be like, you don't understand, he's good. These aren't the right programs for him. And so in Minnesota, it's the best program for him, which is why I think there's going to be an effort made from both Darnold's camp and from the Vikings camp to try to make something work here. But Colin, you're right. I talked to you at the Super Bowl. I think one of the things I shared with you is I was really expecting Sam's market to be in the 40s. I do not predict it to be that. I think it's going to be less than that. I think it's going to be in the low 30s, possibly, maybe even high 20s if Minnesota can get the kind of deal that they want to get. But it is certainly changed considering last week we were chasing the Matthew Stafford story like a bunch of lunatics, knowing that these teams were so desperate to get Stafford in the building, being the Vegas Raiders, the New York Giants. They are not going aggressively hard at Sam Darnold the way they were going after Matthew Stafford.
It's so funny. Well, obviously they're going to go for Stafford harder. That obviously makes sense. But it's so funny that some of these decision makers, they're leaning towards the, I told you so. Sam's not that good, or, and it's like, that's why those teams stay poor and poverty and why they can't win and why those decision makers year after year after year keep getting fired and lead their teams nowhere. And the teams that are actually consistently competitive, who make great moves and moves that are not the obvious, they win. Who went out and got Sam Darnold? Shanahan and the 49ers. The Minnesota Vikings, Kevin O'Connell. And if you're a team that says, well, Kevin O'Connell was able to get the most out of Sam, he was the best guy for that. Well, then if you don't have a coach that you have that belief in, then you need to get a better coach. That's on you. That's on you. And now it's reported that the Raiders are interested in Sam Darnold. And that's a franchise that's making moves now. Tom Brady is all over this now. All over this. Going out and paying Chip Kelly top dollar. A lot of people forget just how great of a coach Pete Carroll is. I know he's not a young, hotshot 40-year-old with like slick jet black hair, looking all sharp and staring off, being all serious. He's like an old guy, so it's just kind of like, and he's an old defensive guy, but like, Pete Carroll's for real. Pete Carroll's for real. And the Raiders are making moves. That's why they just paid Max Crosby all that money. Like, they're looking to win now, and they were ready to give Matthew Stafford a ton of money. That means they're looking to win now. And they're actually interested in Sam Darnold. And as Diana Rossini is reporting, so are the Vikings. The Vikings want to keep Sam Darnold. They want to do it at the right price. They obviously don't want to pay him like $45 million. But for all the Minnesota Vikings fans that keep trying to push back on me, when I've been the biggest defender of the Vikings, saying that they were going to be a great team this season, surprise, surprise, they were. And everyone's like, no, they're not interested. This is all about J.J. McCarthy. And it's like, no, it's not. The Vikings do want to make a deal with Sam. They want him to be their quarterback. And they're not going to pay him. If they can get it for the low 20s, of course that's what they want to do. They're going to try to play hardball. They do hold leverage, undeniably, and you're going to want to use that leverage. You're going to say, hey, look, man, we've given you a lot of life because of what you did with us. You're actually being offered $20 million. Before us, you weren't even getting that. And to think that they're going to pay him that amount of money and he's just going to be a backup or something, or there's going to be some sort of quarterback competition, like, that would be the biggest waste of money ever. You're going to pay him like, high 20s, low 30s. That's what the Atlanta Falcons do. And the Atlanta Falcons are not a well-run team. That's not what the Minnesota Vikings do. So there's real legs behind, Sam Darnold staying with the Minnesota Vikings, as well as a team that's actually, it's weird to use the Raiders as a frame of reference, but they're new management, so to speak. They're making like actual high quality, high level decisions, and they're after Sam Darnold. And the teams that need quarterbacks, that are poverty franchises, they're not. So don't do what the bad teams do. Don't do the teams that haven't won a playoff game in like over a decade do. Okay? Don't be that team. Don't be that team. So my guess is, I don't know, because it's kind of all over the place right now, because I've heard a few teams, the Vikings, the Raiders, and the Colts. Those three teams. And quite frankly, I think Sam Darnold will have success with all three of those teams. I think he'd have awesome success with the Raiders, and I think it would be a huge slam dunk for them to get Sam Darnold, because they would be able to get him for a good price, and they'll still be able to build out their team. I think if they run it back with the Vikings, that's obviously the best case scenario for Sam Darnold and the Vikings. Some Vikings fans really want to downplay winning 14 games like with this. Like, this is nothing, and it's just absurd. Just absurd. Or just the automatic assumption that J.J. McCarthy is going to be able to jump in there and do that. Just not how football works, quite frankly. And I think the Colts with Shane Steichen and Sam Darnold would have a lot of success as well. So yeah, the automatic doubt of Sam Darnold is so limited and narrow, and it's because people really struggle to change their mind. And it's actually funny because one of the biggest complaints that I hear about Colin is that he's a flip-flopper. And I think it's appropriate to change your mind. And granted, sometimes Colin will change his mind in a way that just makes it out to be like he's always had the opinion or something, or he'll change his opinion just based on, it can sometimes feel jarring. Sometimes it's like, no, I got new information and now I'm changing my opinion, and that's appropriate. Like I always say, I change my mind all the time. I'll change my mind. I'll have my mind set with one view, and then literally while I'm talking or watching a clip, within 3 minutes, I have the opposite view now. My mind has been changed. But people get so married to their views and can't see it wasn't lightning in the bottle with Sam Darnold. It was development. It was development. Working with Palmer, growing and evolving, working with Shanahan, working with Kevin O'Connell. He wasn't just this system quarterback saying hike and throwing the ball to wide open receivers, handing the ball off and throwing the ball out of bounds. The dude was making plays. He was making plays, and he was getting better and more comfortable. And then his O-line and Kevin O'Connell failed him. They did. Was he great against the Lions? No. Was he harassed nonstop in both those games, but especially the Rams? Absolutely. Absolutely. And so you want to just blame him and put it all on him. Man, that is the wrong way to look at it. Wrong way to look at it. And if you think against that Rams team that some other quarterback magically does better, why didn't Patrick Mahomes be better? And now all of a sudden everybody wants to have revisionist history about this Vikings team, saying, "Oh, it was a stacked roster." It was a stacked roster? Then why did they predict that they were going to win like 7 games and be 4th in the division? Why? Even with rookie quarterback J.J. McCarthy or Sam Darnold for that matter. If it was a stacked roster, it should be pretty easy to win some games, right? But they won 14. And we're a game away from having the number 1 seed in the NFL. And he played big in a lot of games. He played big in that first game against the Detroit Lions and against the Rams. 2 teams that beat him. He played awesome in both those games. He was not a problem. He played high-level football. The one game he had I think it was against the Rams. He had a 128 passer rating and like a 70-80% completion percentage, something outrageous. Couple touchdowns, and the run support he had was like 50 yards. I mean, that's pretty brutal. That's pretty brutal. So, it's crazy. It really is crazy. And yeah. It's actually kind of perfect. It's kind of symmetry. It's poetry. Last season, going into this past season, I kept saying Sam Darnold's going to be great. They're going to have a lot of success. And everyone was like, no. And I said, he's starting over J.J. McCarthy. People were like, no. And it's like, yes, listen to what the Vikings are saying. Listen to what Kevin O'Connell is saying. And look how much money they paid Sam Darnold. You're not paying him that amount of money. Not a single quarterback got paid $10 million to not start. Not a single quarterback. Not a single quarterback. So Sam Darnold was always going to be the starter. And he balled out and played awesome. Awesome. With the Minnesota Vikings. And now somehow after that awesome year, we're back to the exact same storyline and narrative. So this is deja vu times 100. So let me tell you this right now, because when the Vikings were playing great and Sam Darnold was playing great, I did this whole victory lap, and it was like, I told you guys, look at all these videos that I made about the Vikings and how good they're going to be, and Sam Darnold, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And even when J.J. McCarthy got injured, I was like, guys, everything's going to be okay. Sam Darnold was always meant to start, and he's going to play great. And I got to do a great big victory lap. Well, let's plant this flag right here. Let's plant this the first week of March. And I'm telling you right now, Sam Darnold is going to play for, one of these teams, especially if it's the Colts, the Vikings, or the Raiders. And he's going to have a great season, going to win games, and is going to contend for or in the playoffs. I'm saying that right now. And I am not a hot take artist. I don't think it's a hot take. And I don't try to make such definitive claims just for the sake of content. I only make definitive claims when I really, truly believe it. Otherwise, I'd be making videos all day talking about, this team's going to win the Super Bowl. And this team, that's not how I talk. I always just like to explore the discussion from all different angles, unpack it, try to reach my own conclusion, and leave everyone else room for to reach their own conclusions, rather than tell them what it is. But in some of these rare moments when I feel very firm, it's like, that's what this is. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. I was right last year. Will I be right this year? I don't know. I hope, obviously. It would be fun to do another victory lap, but, never know. I'm not right about everything. I don't claim to be, so it's a wait and see situation. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about Sam Darnold? Do you think he'll stay in Minnesota? Do you think he's going to move on to, say, a team like the Raiders? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here and absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.